Hi there and welcome. Thank you for participating in this training session today. You are about to begin this module, which provides guidance to you as a supervisor on HR compliance topics. This presentation is brought to you by Cura HR, your HR consulting partner. As a supervisor with Signia, you play an important role in making sure that the policies and practices we have in place are adhered to, and that if you have any questions or are unsure about what to do, that you can contact Human Resources. You are the eyes and ears of the organization. Today we'll be reviewing Signia's key compliance policies. For each policy, I'll explain the legal and company rules, and we'll talk about what this means for you as an employee and as a supervisor. As we continue the module, we will also be reviewing Signia's conduct policies. Again, for each policy, I'll explain the company conduct policies, including what this means for you as an employee and as a supervisor. At the end of our session, you will be prepared to test your knowledge with a short quiz. Let's get started. First, let's start by talking about what Human Resources is and how HR supports the workplace and you as an employee and a supervisor. Cura HR, along with your designated HR representative and your leadership team, is here to help and support you. When you think of HR, it may be a recruiter you worked with, or the process of enrolling in your benefits, requesting a leave of absence, or talking about a sensitive issue. As we go through these slides, the key is that HR is a partner in the workplace, and one of our goals is to make the best work environment possible. HR's role is truly to help companies make good decisions about how to handle things that impact employees, and to help employees leverage these things to be productive and happy. Success happens when all team members work together, including employees, leadership, and HR. Where does HR start? One answer is obvious. Sometimes HR activities start with the HR person. Sometimes HR will reach out asking for help from you. Maybe we're holding a training like this one, and we ask for help from leadership to communicate to staff. Maybe we just finished an employee engagement survey, and HR will ask for your help in making some great changes as a result. As a supervisor, some of you may have spoken with an employee about the company dress code. They might ask, "Can I wear ripped jeans or cutoffs to work?" Or you might need to tell someone, "Your perfume is bothering others around you." Perhaps you've noticed an employee has been coming to work late. Maybe an employee was pregnant or injured and needed time off. How about if you smelled alcohol or marijuana, or they were acting unusual at work? When these topics come up, you are doing HR, and often you take on the responsibility. Remember, you are not expected to be an HR expert. You have support from your designated HR representative, your senior leaders, and Cura HR. You are responsible for knowing when to reach out. If you don't tell us something that's going on, we can't help you. We also can't watch for trends or develop tools to support leaders and employees on the questions that come up over and over if we don't know they're coming up. How do you know when to reach out? That's why we're here. We'll cover that in the slides to come. So when I refer to management here, I really mean you, the supervisor. As we go through this training, we'll designate some time to cover what else should I know as a leader. That's you, the supervisor. For each topic, there may be some specific things to watch out for, but universally, always keep these two things in mind. Policies are in place to guide you and your employees. They are guideposts and tools to help you, but they can't help if you don't know what they say. When something questionable happens or someone says something that you may think isn't okay, you might look around expecting somebody to do something about that. Well, as a leader, that somebody is you. If you don't act in the moment, don't sweep it under the rug. Reach out to HR and we can help you figure out a plan. Okay, now that we know that leaders in HR work hand in hand, let's dig into the key policies that we should know to keep us out of legal trouble. By the end of this, we should be able to understand how we can protect the business and ourselves, know the rules and understand the why behind them, know when to ask for help, and where to go for it. Consciously leverage each person's strengths to make a positive impact. First of all, compliance policies are sometimes referred to as heavy policies. We will cover the policies listed on the slide. Yes, they are rules. In fact, policies are resolute behavior expectations. Policy violations may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination, which differ from general programs, procedures, or plan information. But they're more than that. Policies set the ground rules for how we work with one another and how we expect to be treated. Every policy we'll talk about here is important, but these heavier topics are often more sensitive for people. These policies not only define critical expectations for how we treat one another, their provisions are also dictated by federal laws. For example, Equal Employment Opportunity, or EEO, means freedom from discrimination on the basis of protected class, including race, color, national origin, religion, age, sex, gender, sexual orientation, physical or mental disability, and retaliation. The laws applies to all types of work situations, including hiring, firing, promotions, harassment, training, wages, and benefits. Here is the extensive list of protected classes, which has evolved over time. To clarify, protection means job protection in regard to treating people equally or not discriminating. Our commitment to you is that our company doesn't discriminate, and we need your commitment to do the same. You will see this reflected throughout our other policies as well. One very important piece of information as it relates to EEO is that you as a supervisor, your leadership team, and your HR representative has an obligation to report issues or complaints. If someone comes to you with a complaint, you have an obligation to do something about it. What if someone comes to you and specifically says, "I don't want to report this, but I just wanted someone to know"? You still must report it. Communicate with the person so they know what to expect and that you have a legal and moral obligation. What if you see something yourself, but no one else seems to have noticed, or they don't seem to think it's a big deal? You still need to do something about it. This action can vary from a conversation to documentation to something more serious, but you still are obligated to report. Our next topic is anti-harassment and prohibition of sexual harassment policy. A few important details about harassment include harassment can be directed towards people involving the protected EEO statuses we just talked about, from age to gender to race, for example, and including sexual harassment. Sometimes harassment is obvious, like when someone makes a comment about someone else's religion or calls someone a derogatory name. Other times, though, harassment is a result of different perspectives, and it can sometimes be unintentional. However, behavior that persists over a period of time, even when asked to stop, can result in a hostile work environment or a harassment claim. Knowing your audience and knowing when to stop are key. Having friends and having fun at work is fine. Persistent requests or behavior that makes others feel uncomfortable is not acceptable. Remember, harassment is often defined by the person receiving it. It's good to be yourself, but know your audience and be the work-appropriate version of yourself. Again, do not assume behavior that is not offensive to you is acceptable to others, as harassment is often defined by the person receiving it. Sexual harassment and the Me Too movement means that people are coming forward with complaints more and more. It may be tempting to take the easy way out if you see something, or not report something to your senior leader or HR, but don't. Our role as leaders is to look into each situation. Don't tell the complainant immediately what the outcome will be, but say that you will take the right steps to make sure this is handled appropriately. Always document what you do. And remember, you have an obligation to report concerns or complaints, big or small, to ensure you have the support and guidance, and that appropriate action is taken, such as conducting an investigation when needed. Moving on to our next topic is Americans with Disabilities, or ADA, which is the Act. The key messages are: we don't discriminate against people with disabilities, and we provide reasonable accommodations. The definition of a disability includes regarded as having such an impairment, and is something to pay attention to. If we believe that someone has a disability, then they are covered by the Act, whether they do or not. Because of this, use caution in what you say or write, or the questions you ask. The definition of a disability is intentionally open so that it can include someone with a visible disability, like someone in a wheelchair, as much as someone whose disability you cannot see, like an employee with depression or cancer. It is each employee's or applicant's responsibility to request an accommodation based on a disability. Cignia can't and won't tell you what you need. The company or HR will support you through the accommodation request process, and the company will help you manage employee performance. The second piece to this policy is our commitment to providing reasonable accommodations. Reasonable accommodation means that we will do our best to enable you to do your job. If you would like to discuss or request a reasonable accommodation, reach out to your leader or HR and we'll help you through it. Please remember some of the following key points. You aren't obligated to provide any accommodation an employee might request. If you don't accommodate, be sure to document why. Make sure you're consistent. The interactive process is the process you go through to identify what the employee says they need. You may go back and forth several times, and the key is to show that you're working with them. Ask the employee what they need. Don't tell them what you'll give them. This could lead to providing accommodations that they don't really need. Instead, ask what accommodations they need in order to do the job. Then, when they tell you, you can respond about whether you can or cannot. Don't feel you have to respond right in the moment, but ensure you are reasonably timely. Finally, if their accommodation request is based on a medical need, always ask for documentation from their medical provider. Make it clear that you are not asking for confidential information about their condition. Instead, you need clear statements about what accommodations they're requesting. Remember to document your responses. Now we'll move on to our next topic, anti-violence and anti-bullying. We'll talk about how violence can impact us at work. The Occupational Safety and Health Act, OSHA, requires employers to maintain reasonably safe and healthy workplaces, which extends to some incidents of workplace violence. Are you aware of intentional bullying or violence that may happen in the workplace? Some examples include punching or hitting, use of weapons, stalking, and name-calling that is hurtful. Those are good examples of verbal and physical bullying, but sometimes bullying may be less obvious, such as gesture bullying, like glances that convey threatening messages, or exclusion, which is socially or physically isolating or disregarding a person in work-related activities. Like harassment, something that can be intended as a joke might be perceived by another person as violence or bullying. Furthermore, violent incidents in the workplace can be devastating to victims and their loved ones, and simply talking about violent acts or active assailants in our workspace may feel uncomfortable. We're talking about it because we feel that preparation can help if the worst were ever to happen. We also believe that giving you the knowledge to make the right decisions can help protect you and your coworkers if you suddenly found yourself in a bad situation. No one responds well to a situation we're not prepared for, so we all need to understand what to do in an emergency. Preparation and discussion is the first step to prevention. In a violent situation, try to assess first. If there's a path to escape, it's always better to run to safety. If that's not possible, hide. Also, notify a leader or HR about safety concerns. Work can be a danger zone for those with an abusive partner, since work is often the only place they can be found. We recommend escalating any concerns about criminal backgrounds, restraining orders, or domestic violence so we can take additional precautions if necessary. Watch for warning signs of potential violence around the workplace, like angry outbursts or threats. Don't hesitate. The minute someone says, "I don't feel safe," you have a responsibility and obligation to escalate to your senior leader or HR. If a fellow employee has made a direct threat or gives you reason to believe they are dangerous, don't be afraid to contact security, the police, or call 911. Then always let your senior leader or HR know what's going on. Please ensure that you communicate this message and expectations to all employees. Watch for flags from your own team and from others in the workplace, including external clients, vendors, and visitors. Remember that we do not allow violence or threats of violence, including bullying, such as persistent, malicious behavior, which offends, intimidates, or humiliates another employee. As we move to our next topic, you may have noticed that we have mentioned obligation to report throughout this session. This means submitting an anonymous report to the Tell Us number posted in your workspace or following the expectation for all employees at all levels to escalate and report actions which are in violation of the law or company policies. We can't say this enough. The company needs employees to express concerns, big or small, so that we know about them and so we can take action. If we don't know, we can't do anything. Sometimes an employee might submit a report directly to senior leaders or HR, and that's okay. Leadership and HR are available and willing to help. Remember, there are legal ramifications if an employee brings up a concern regarding a violation of law and the company doesn't do anything about it. If you submit a complaint, HR may be looped in as a partner. If you're not sure whether leadership or HR needs to know, Inform them just to be safe. Cignia's ethics hotline is Tell Us. All employees can call this phone number and leave a message anonymously or not to report or talk about anything they may feel uncomfortable discussing at work. All messages left on this line will be heard, taken seriously, and investigated with discretion. Our final topic is the policy of prohibition of retaliation. When HR investigates reports, they do their best to protect the people involved, but sometimes the questions asked during an investigation may lead others to make assumptions about who reported them. While we can't guarantee confidentiality, we do have a very strict policy against retaliation. This means that any person who has made a report, raised questions or concerns, or participated in an investigation will not be retaliated against. If you ever do perceive retaliation, follow the reporting procedure, notify leadership or HR. We take this very seriously. A few examples of perceived retaliation include changing job duties, changing shifts or schedules, demotion, or salary reduction. Retaliation can come in many forms, both from leaders and employees. You may see this in the form of bullying, violence, or harassment. As a leader, it is crucial to remember these key points. Do not retaliate. It is unlawful to retaliate against employees. Do not take actions that could be perceived as retaliation. Watch impacted staff to ensure there's no retaliation. All employees should be treated fairly. That concludes the module focusing on the heavy policies, which are driven by laws. Now we're moving into reviewing Cignia's conduct policies, which are also included in the employee handbook. While some of these may be influenced by laws, these policies are driven by what the company feels are important. Again, for each policy, I'll explain the company conduct policies, including what this means for you as an employee and as a supervisor. We'll start with confidential information. This doesn't mean you can't talk about your work or what we do at Cignia. In fact, we want you to spread the word about how great our company is. Confidentiality just means that you can't share private information about the company, our clients, or about other employees. This might include trade secrets, client lists, or personal information about others. If you're not sure what private means, always err on the side of caution, and feel free to discuss any questions with your senior leader or HR at any time. As a leader or supervisor, it's important to be engaged with your team members. You can do this by maintaining awareness of what your staff is doing. Obtain approval before disclosing or releasing information, and consider if the information is protected by law or policy. Personal information that you share with your supervisor or HR, or personal information that fellow employees share with you, may be considered personal or medical information and is private. Be cautious and respectful with this type of information. You should share this with HR, but do not discuss with other employees. Internet usage and data protection technically fall under the category of confidentiality, but we want to call it out since there are some legal ramifications here. Employee internet access has become commonplace. The internet provides instant access to information and is a vehicle for employee communication and has been deemed a necessary productivity tool for most employers. However, while the internet offers email, e-commerce, and research tools, it also opens up more avenues for employee distraction, ranging from the innocent, entertainment and shopping, to the offensive, such as gambling and pornography. As an employee, you are expected to use the internet responsibly and productively. Internet access is limited to job-related activities only, and personal use is not permitted. As a supervisor, make sure you are aware of your employees' internet activities. If you are unsure about what constitutes acceptable internet usage, then ask your supervisor for further guidance and clarification. Additionally, federal and state laws impose rules for protecting sensitive and private employee information. Leadership has a responsibility to enforce laws and ensure best practice for protecting and handling employee information. Cigna has a robust security policy in place, which is included in the employee handbook. The consequence for noncompliance could lead to identity theft, lawsuits, or fines, resulting in liability and risk or exposure to the company. All aspects of employee data are included in privacy laws, including employment, personal, and health data. The examples of protected information are listed on the chart below. Violation of employee privacy or data protection may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. As an employee, it's important that you maintain appropriate internet usage. You play a role in safeguarding employee information, adhering to protecting employee data, and complying with privacy laws. As a supervisor, it's important that you are monitoring and ensuring that employees are maintaining appropriate internet usage. When in doubt, obtain approval from your senior leader or escalate to HR before disclosing or releasing information. Our next conduct topic is regarding drugs, alcohol, and tobacco. The company expects a smoke and tobacco-free environment and will not tolerate the use or possession of illegal drugs or the possession, use, or being under the influence of alcohol during working hours, while performing company business, or otherwise while on the company premises. Violation of these policies is grounds for disciplinary action up to and including termination. Although marijuana is legalized in some states, we know that it still impairs your judgment. We are committed to a safe and productive work environment. So whether you live somewhere marijuana is legal or not, possession or use of marijuana while at work or on work time is still a violation of policy. Other legal or over-the-counter drugs like aspirin or Robitussin are okay if they're used according to the directions. If you're using a prescription drug which does not affect your ability to work safely and effectively, then it's fine too. Like some of these other substances, alcohol can impair judgment, and we expect that you won't be at work under the influence of alcohol. Occasionally, there may be instances such as a company-sponsored event or celebration when responsible possession and consumption of alcohol may be permitted. Even at these times, alcohol should not impede your judgment or your ability to maintain professional standards of conduct. As a leader, remember to stand by your policies and laws. Hold employees accountable for performance expectations. Be cautious and call HR if there are medical implications which may lead to ADA, FMLA, or workers' compensation. Let's move on to our final topic, office cleanliness and personal appearance. We expect you and all employees to keep our work environment clean and safe, one that feels good to everyone. We also want to make a good first impression when we have visitors to our office. Plus, a clean office gives us a boost to productivity. The same expectations apply to you and your personal appearance. In the employee handbook, we provide a list of the clothes you can and cannot wear. You're an adult working in a professional environment. Make sure you're dressed appropriately. If you're not sure, don't wear it. As a leader, you are expected to exemplify the standard. Additionally, some of us have sensitivities to odors, from reheated fish at lunch to perfume. Please be aware of those around you and be respectful. A couple of simple reminders as a leader. You are a representative of the company, and you are responsible for enforcing the policies. Refer to the company handbook and be familiar with the dress code policy, which spells out the specifics regarding professional dress, business casual wear, casual Fridays, and relaxed dress code for after regular business hours. Focus on business reasons, needs, or outcomes, and be consistent. Thank you for your attention while we covered so many important policies throughout this HR compliance overview for supervisors training module. Now that you have increased your knowledge of policies and the HR function, you can feel more confident as a supervisor in the workplace environment. To test your knowledge, you will be receiving a quiz to complete. Upon successful completion of the quiz, you will earn a training certificate. Good luck, and thanks again.